Hello, everyone. If you are listening right now at this very moment, then you are in the commuter spot, and I'm your host, D Commuter. This show is brought to you by Golden Way Transport Services Incorporated, offering freight dispatching and consulting services. For more information, please go to www.goldenwaytransport.co. Now, for today's show, we're going to talk about some interesting signage that you may see on your road travels. So, let's just say you're traveling for leisure or for work. We are the world of commuters here. So, we want to talk about all things commuting and going, whether you're going to work or not. It's very important to be aware, and some of these signs we see along the way can be a little interesting, and you're wondering what they mean. Well, we're going to talk about that today. We're going to cover a few of those, and hopefully it will check off your list. So when you're taking that next road trip, you say, maybe I might be interested in checking that out, or hoping to catch a view of something that, you otherwise would not have known about. So stay with us. If you're just tuning in, you're in the commuter spot, and I'm your host, D Commuter. Let's jump right into the topic for today. We're talking about interesting road signage that we may encounter on the roadways or highways during our leisure travel or work travel. For me, this particular encounter happened during my work travel. So I was scheduled to deliver I believe I was transporting a bus. So, I do commercial driving, so I'm a truck driver mainly. So as I was doing this in transit to drop this particular unit off, it was going to Canada. Okay. So, from the US, there are a lot of ways to enter into Canada. You can do it from the East Coast, West Coast, Midwest, wherever you are, you can pretty much find an entrance into Canada. You just, follow the map all the way up. Well, so for this particular route, I went up through the East Coast. So, along that way, there's a lot of things you could stop off and see. There's, West Virginia, Maryland, New York. I love Niagara Falls, but we'll get into some of those places another day. But on into Montreal, Quebec, Canada, which was my destination. Well, en route there, as I entered into Canada, I noticed a lot. In on the Montreal side, they are French speaking, so I don't speak any French besides bonjour. That's about all I know. So as I was trip planning to exit Montreal, I needed to go to the nearest airport where I could then just fly back, because I was actually leaving the unit that I was transporting there. So I needed to get transportation out of there. So my choice was to fly, right? So I went to the Montreal bus station thinking, well, because Montreal is kind of on the outskirts and it's a smaller town, I needed to get to a major city where I can kind of connect. So I utilized their bus station. Well, when I went to the bus station, of course, nobody spoke English, and I'm trying to relate to them that I need to get to an airport. So at the time, there wasn't that voice where you can kind of, you have these apps now where you can kind of just say whatever you want to say, and it translate into the language that you are trying to, you know, understand. So that wasn't available then. So I had to Google like just a couple words so I can try to, attempt to let them know that I'm trying to get to an airport. So somehow that worked out slightly, but they knew where I was going. I was unsure once they were printing out my bus ticket, hoping and praying that they had it right. But I was confident. I was feeling good. They were smiling. I was smiling. So everything's at the end of the day was great. So I get on this Greyhound bus, because this was a Greyhound bus station. And I noticed, well, first I noticed that the bus in the US, the buses are kind of gray, maybe some gray and bluish color. In Canada, a lot of the buses are white and gray. So that was interesting enough. And when I got on the bus, usually in the US, when you get on a Greyhound bus, I normally see a lot of African Americans on the bus. Um, but in Canada, I was the only African American on the bus. So that was another interesting thing. But people were doing weird things as they do weird things in the US on the buses. So people were doing weird things. People are people. So everything was kind of moving just as it would in the US on the Greyhound bus. One interesting thing that happened was the bus driver came to this stop, a complete stop, and it was kind of abrupt. So, we were all wondering what was going on. So I kind of stood up to look, and I was maybe about 6 rows back from the bus driver. So as I kind of, lifted to look, I noticed there was a moose, a very large moose. Now, going back to me entering in when I was actually driving the commercial vehicle that I was scheduled to deliver, I saw a lot of signs said moose on the loose. Okay. And they were everywhere. And I was thinking, moose on the loose. I wasn't not really used to seeing signage like that, because in the US, if they're, deer or bears or whatnot, you'll see kind of like the picture of the animal. Well, they had the picture of the animal, but then it was like moose on the loose. So I thought, wow, okay, well, it's not likely that I'm going to encounter a moose. But at this particular time, by the time we got to that spot where the moose was crossing the roadway, it was fairly dark. It wasn't all the way the sun was just going down. So it wasn't like completely dark, but it was getting there. So it was, you could really, I saw this ginormous animal in front of the windows. And you know how those big windows on the front of the bus? Oh, we were all in awe. Like, it was amazing. But people there were kind of used to seeing it. So, but there were a couple people on the bus that was like, what? Like me, like, are you kidding? Like, oh, yes. I actually saw a moose, and it is large. And if the bus driver hadn't stopped, there would have been severe damage if she had a hit a moose, and probably some repercussions behind hitting. I'm not sure that they fine you, or you go through some kind of um, court or something for hitting a moose. I have no idea, but if that's, a particular crime or not. But, if you can prevent from hitting them, for sure, that is ideal, because that could be a lose situation for you. You're lost, buddy. You hit that moose. But so I thought that was very interesting to see those signs. So if you're ever traveling up through that Ontario area, because that's where I needed to get to the airport, the Ontario airport, to fly back. And yeah, if you're ever in that, driving up through there and you see those signs, please be cautious, because they are there and they could definitely walk out in front of your vehicle. So just a little tip. This next sign that we're going to talk about today, I see as I'm usually climbing or descending from mountains. And I get asked this question all the time because I'm a truck driver, and I'm usually, driving through a lot of mountains, because there's no limit to where I would go. So I get asked this particular sign: truck runaway ramp. Sometimes it just says runaway ramp. So people always ask me, what is that? What is a truck runaway ramp or escape ramp, however you choose to put it? But that's exactly what it is. It looks really daunting because it's just going straight up like a hill, like a very large hill that you don't want to climb, full of sand. Most of them are made with like sand or gravel. The ones that I think that I see the most are sand, because the idea is for if the truck loses brakes, which is usually the reason that a truck would have to hit that runaway ramp, if it's lost control or has lost brakes. So as it hits that runaway ramp, the idea is for it to, kind of come to a stop there. But there are potential um, problems that could happen, such as rolling back. And I really hope that doesn't happen to anyone. Their sources say that there's anywhere between, actually, this information comes right out from the FMCSA, 4 to 5,000 runaway truck accidents yearly. So that's a lot. I've never actually saw one up close, but they're obviously happening. So, but the idea is for the truck to kind of get up there, and then the tires to kind of sink into the sand, like quicksand. So, and that would just kind of, I guess, grip it and then keep it from moving. So the trucks could incur a lot of damage afterwards, because it's a huge impact. However, it is interesting when you see that sign. If you were just traveling on a road as just, you're going on your holiday, so it's leisure travel for you, and you see this runaway ramp and you're going, what is that? So, yes, that's what it is. It's a truck runaway ramp. It's for the big trucks, 18 wheelers, or any type of truck that has lost its brakes may want to consider taking that, and that will prevent any further accidents happening with others, causing even more of a problem, or fatalities or injuries. And so, in order to prevent that, they have these truck runaway ramps. They've been in existence for quite a long time. Not sure exactly where they started, but it's a great idea, especially in the mountains, where that's where you usually are going to find these types of ramps. So if you're looking and you're riding and you see these, don't be alarmed. Hopefully you won't see a truck running past you, hitting straight onto that ramp. But if you do, then just know that that's what they're trying to prevent, is any further accidents. So this next peculiar signage is located off of I-40 in Arizona, and it is called Two Guns. Okay, approaching this, I immediately thought, I could probably come up with one, but two? After you've taken a moment to grasp it, then you start thinking, I'm taking a drive through history right now. So, that history being Native American history, and that Two Guns is significant to some Apaches in the area. One particular man who carried two matching revolvers, sources say. However, there was definitely a very mass demise of Apache Indians there. Um, and so it was definitely a war zone, and it's something to be remembered. It's like a ghost town now, so a lot of things have closed down, but there's that Death Cave. It's called Death Cave. So if you're in the area and you want to visit, that is just some history if you're into the Native American history. So that is something to see. Otherwise, it is very interesting to see signage like that, because it just makes you wonder what happened on this land. And like so many places that are engulfed with history, um, you know, people who are interested really want to dig deeper into finding out more. And so we definitely encourage that. There's a lot to know about that, but just seeing that sign, Two Guns, and you're driving, don't be sleepy when you see it, which you shouldn't be sleepy anyway. Stay alert, stay aware. But yes, it definitely can just put in your mind, you know, just, some general ideas. So, another interesting sign that I've seen along my work travels is also located in Arizona. So, unlike Two Guns, which was on I-40 near Flagstaff, which, by the way, if you're in that area on I-40 in Arizona, I hope you're there to visit the Grand Canyon, because that is definitely a sight to see. So, this particular location in Arizona is on I 10. going towards Phoenix, Arizona. So as I was driving, I usually see these signs. It's not the first time that I've seen these signs that say a meteor shower. But this particular night, well, early morning was like 3 a.m. in the morning. I saw this big ball of fire coming out of the sky. It was like a big ball, and then all of a sudden it was like fire coming from it, and it was just falling from the sky. And this was also caught on a dash cam of a police officer's vehicle because I saw the footage on the news later because I was so interested because it was something that I actually witnessed. And it said that he was going eastbound. So I was going westbound. We had to be the only two people on the highway at that time of morning. I don't know this for sure, but it certainly felt like it. It was so dark and so quiet. And then here was this great ball of fire just falling from the sky. And I was gripping the steering wheel so tightly with both hands, going, oh my God, is this today? I hope it's not today. But if it is, then I love everybody. and, and it did finally make landfall, but it wasn't near me, however, thank God. But yeah, it hit and I didn't feel a thing. So it was just interesting to see because I had never I'd always just thought, well, it's a sign. I never really connected it to the actual event of seeing a meteor shower. So that was something to see that I would never forget. And so if you're traveling to Arizona on I-10 and you see these meteor shower signs, pay close attention, especially if it's, in the middle of the night, because you just don't know. I mean, you just really don't know. And any signage that you discover on these highways and byways that seem very interesting, you might want to dig and do your research if you're like me, curious to know what the meaning is behind some of these quotes or sayings or names or events. So if you're interested like that, then you definitely want to do your research. I strongly encourage it because you just might find something out that is just totally amazing. And that was this experience. It was something that I won't ever forget. And I hope to see you guys somewhere in travel, on the road, in the air. If you see me, let me know, say hi. But right now, we're getting out of here, and it was a pleasure bringing this information to you. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you'd like to be a part of our wonderful growing community of commuters, please join us. Go to www.patreon.com/commuter spot. And also join our Facebook group at Commuter Spot. So I hope to see you there. And until next time.